Welcome on into a Yankees Classic edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast on this beautiful Thursday. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. And folks, Aaron Judge hasn't done it yet, but he did a significant portion of it on Tuesday in a game where it looked like he wasn't going to get that final at bat, in a game where it looked like he was maybe going to come up pretty small in a contest where the bullpen didn't manage to hack it and get the job done, let a couple one-run leads go. Judge had a struggling at-bat with the bases loaded to 1 out and a strikeout that led to a problematic early end to an inning where Harrison Bader fell over. You're watching this game and you're saying, well, they're really going to feel the sting of this one when they let a potential win against the Pittsburgh Pirates get away. And oh, look, Clay Holmes is struggling again. And oh, look, it's 8-4. And, is this the worst loss of the season, or is the 3-0 choke to the Cincinnati Reds in the ninth the worst loss of the season? Those are the conversations that we're having before Aaron Judge's at bat in the ninth inning on Tuesday. Judge homers. I texted my friends before that at bat. I said, what is a worst case scenario than Judge hitting 60 in an 8-5 loss to the Pirates in the ninth inning? Well, turns out that him hitting his 60th to make the game 8-5 was just the start of the best case scenario. You saw the best of the New York Yankees on Tuesday night. After the Judge homer, double by Anthony Rizzo, Gleyber Torres walks, couldn't be more locked in right now. Josh Donaldson bloop single. Giancarlo Stanton gets off the schneid with a walk-off grand slam. We will remember this game forever. Miss me with the it's just a Pirates game. Miss me with that. Baseball is about so much more than championships. Are championships important? Yeah, they're what you play for. And if we don't get one soon, we're going to be really frustrated. But you know what? I'm telling my grandkids about the night I watched that game. Astros fans in our mentions and in the world's mentions talking about how it's just a Pirates game. Celebrate your regular season World Series. Cry more. Yeah, we're going to celebrate it. It's baseball history. The plot has been lost. You fools. It was an all-time game. We're going to talk more in detail about it. What we saw in the second game of the series, which, by the way, 14-2, 6-2 lead entering the bottom of the eighth, 14-2 win. Also pretty impactful. Probably got to talk about that too. And the Boston Red Sox are coming to town. Aaron Judge hasn't finished his chase for history. 60 down, still got 61 and potentially 62 to go. And he's got 14 games which to hit 2 bombs. I think he's got a good shot at doing it, folks. Don't you? A lot of drama with the Apple TV broadcast on Friday. Potential broadcaster trades in the mix. We're going to talk about everything you need to know headed into the weekend against the Red Sox. Who needs to step up and how we can exactly see history get accomplished. Triple Crown history. I don't know. Judge is in the lead there too right now. Not done. Not a done deal, but he's ahead. 14 games to go. And obviously some players that we want to see a little bit more from. We want to see the good times continue. Plus, Aaron Hicks sent home from Wednesday's game early feeling under the weather in street clothes. Is that real? Fake? Probably fake, right? Is he about to get Jacoby Ellsbury? What the hell is going on? We're going to break that down too. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review. Drop us a mailbag queue. We will be more than happy to answer those questions or just talk them through with you. You can find us live on Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time. And conveniently, we're coming off a 2-game sweep. Yankees love to sweep the 2-game series. Thomas Carannante. Yankees love to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, if you told me when they lost the first game in Pittsburgh at the early portion of July that they would go on to win the next 3, one of which is going to be one of the best Yankee games I've seen in the modern era, and the other 2 are going to be 16-0 and 14-2 wins, I probably would have been pretty satisfied with that. I would not have been satisfied with everything that happened in between, but can't really ask for more against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, it's funny where you find yourself. You're watching that, you're leaving after that top of the ninth, and you're just like, great, cool, I'm going to lose this.
Cool.
And it shifts the entire mood. You're like, great, we're going to lose one to the Pirates right before the Sox series. It's going to deflate us, and then we're going to look like idiots against the Red Sox when they're clearly the worst team right now. But look how quick it turns around. The Pirates don't record 1 out in that inning. Yankees, what was that? The fastest 2 grand slams in history. It was 7 plate appearances in between the 2 because from the night prior to Wednesday night.
They've got 5 ultimate grand slams in the history of the franchise, which is a walk-off grand slam down 3 to up 1, 5 ever, 2 in the last month.
Yeah.
Josh Donaldson and Giancarlo Stanton.
Pretty cool stuff. Yankees 11-4 in their last 15. I bet you don't feel like it's been like that, do you? Because you go into the series against Milwaukee and it felt awful the way they played that Friday and Saturday. But yeah, dating back to September 4th against Tampa, 11-4. And that's created this cushion in the division where we're not pooping our pants down the stretch. 2 weeks left, Sox coming to town, then at Toronto, then home against Baltimore, and then traveling out to Texas to finish off the season. Just a little under 3 weeks left, guys. We're getting there. Season's almost done, but the way that Tuesday went, you couldn't have asked for a better win, and it's not just the Pirates. I'm glad you said that because people obviously have things to say that don't really matter.
I can't stand that stuff, and it goes beyond. Obviously, look, this is a Yankees podcast. We're talking about an all-time Yankee game where somebody in a contract year tied Babe Ruth's 60 home run mark. So this specific game, obviously, the opponent does not matter. And then, of course, the fact that he's able to flip the game in the 9th and they went on a walk-off grand slam. I don't want to hear about which team they did that against. It's a remarkable accomplishment regardless. Is it easier against the Pirates? Theoretically, yes. Should whoever's pitching the 9th inning be able to stop blowing a 4-run lead without recording an out? Yeah. The Pirates have a solid bullpen at the back end. Everybody's got a closer at this point. There's no team with a 5.8 ERA guy in the closer spot, except I guess the Yankees, because Clay Holmes is not a closer. So I guess we're the worst team in baseball. But there's a back-end reliever on every single team who can shut you down. Will Crow's been struggling. Then again, it's just that never gets thrown around. Like, you never hear about the opponent in great historical moments. Nobody downplays Roger Maris' 61st homer because it came off a struggling Red Sox team starting a 2-6 pitcher named Tracy Stallard. Nobody is like, yeah, but it was the Red Sox. Yeah, nobody's like, yeah, it was the Red Sox, though. So 61 homers, are we sure? Like, isn't it actually 60? Nobody does that. And beyond that obvious historical just inaccuracy and the fact that clashes with the way that we tell the story of baseball, I don't want to hear about strength of schedule ever again. You can stop with that. It doesn't matter what a team's strength of schedule is. In October and September, if they don't have what it takes, the New York Mets have had the easiest schedule I've ever seen. They've been unable to pull away on the Braves. They've lost series to teams they shouldn't be being touched by. The Seattle Mariners had the inside track on the first wild card 2 weeks ago. Look at their schedule down the stretch. It's Oakland, Tigers. There is not a single playoff team on this schedule. And yet, they've now relinquished control of that top spot. They lost to Oakland yesterday. They lost to Oakland the day before. You play your schedule, and you'd better play up no matter who you're facing. A's, so they lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels over the weekend. Just lost 2 in Oakland, have another one today. 3 at the Royals, 3 against the Rangers, then 3 more at home against the A's, and 4 against the Tigers. They finished it with this homestand against all these terrible teams, but look at what they've done against the first couple of matchups against terrible teams. The Yankees were down 4 runs in the 9th inning of this game against the Pirates. You could tell me it's just the Pirates, but teams lose to bad teams all the time when they're tight and when they're overlooking them or when they match up with a pitcher who's just got it. You see the guy the Pirates started in that game? Disgusting.
Ortiz,
he wasn't on a pitch count. Yeah, he's a rookie. He's making his second start, and he went scoreless in the first one and was close to going scoreless in this one too if Harrison Bader hadn't stepped up and delivered hits with runners in scoring position. And then the Pirates bullpen worked out of some jams. And, oh, look, all of a sudden the Yankees are down 4 runs in the late inning of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not saying they overlooked the Pirates. I'm just saying that you can't overlook the Pirates. So ignore the history angle, which is a whole different thing. Nobody relitigates history and moments of the past like, yeah, Babe Ruth hit 60 homers, but it came against the Washington Senators. So, I mean, is that even a major league team? 60 home runs is 60 home runs. But to bring strength of schedule into this and start saying, well, of course the Yankees, they came back, but it was the Pirates. Like plenty of other teams are not beating bad teams on their schedule. Plenty of other teams are not making a 4-run comeback in the 9th to win 9-8 without recording a single out. That's not easy no matter who the opponent is. Major league pitcher of any caliber should be able to get you through that inning. Giancarlo Stanton hasn't hit anybody lately, and he hits a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah, and if you've watched the Yankees over the last few years, you've seen the Yankees go down 1-2-3 in those scenarios against bad teams. So, like, it's plenty of teams and in the bottom of the 9th down, down 3 or they check out. It's inherent, and all it takes is getting the first batter out, and then you're already staring down the barrel of the loss, because it's even harder to do it if you don't get the leadoff guy on. It changes the complexion in the entire inning. Judge, on the other hand, goes yard. Judge, I want to talk about him for a second, doing pretty important things I think we'll track over the next few days, I believe. But this season he's having, hopefully record-breaking, hopefully triple crown, remains to be seen. There's plenty of time to go. This, in my opinion, has... And this is why the MVP matters. This is why the MVP should have narrative attached to it. Aaron Judge has not only kept the Yankees afloat from their inexplicable doldrums in the month of August and the end of July and whatnot, but now the crowds for all of these games are just, it's dialed in innings 1 through 9. On any other regular night, and I'm not saying this because fans aren't loyal or whatnot, you don't see that many fucking fans in the ballpark down 4 in the 9th against the Pirates. People want to get home.
Yeah.
People don't need to see, you're not a fake fan if you're leaving, if you're not watching the final 3 outs of a 4-run loss to a 100 loss team, like we've all left games early. We've all been there. Some of us don't, props to you, God bless, but a lot of fans do. That stadium was still packed. That stadium was roaring when he hit his 60th. That stadium was roaring on Giancarlo Stanton's walk-off grand slam. And I think the fact that Judge is chasing so much history and playing so unbelievably at this point that even his teammates are starstruck by it. You could just see the energy and the shift when this team is able to kind of, we haven't been able to see it until they've actually gotten back on track, but now they've been back on track for the last 2+ weeks, and you see everything changing. Gleyber Torres turning it around. Donaldson's putting a charge into pitches here and there and still playing very good, reliable defense. Oswaldo Cabrera has been incredible, in my opinion. Harrison Bader, I know he's only been here for 2 games, but can you make that much bigger of an impact in 2 games after not playing for 3 months with a fucking foot injury? And then, Rizzo returns his first game back against the Brewers that Sunday. He's tearing the cover off the ball. Stanton, I know it's been a while for him. He's still working to get back on track, but he's not in that position if Judge doesn't hit that home run. Jose Trevino continues to hit with runners in scoring position. He's unaffected by everything. He's just happy to be here and loving life. So, that's the kind of guy that you want to have on your squad. But all in all, Judge's constant contributions that have been larger than and more impactful than anything you've ever seen. You look at the second half stats. I don't have them in front of me, but it's I think he's batting .372 with a .510 on base percentage, slugging over 800. You've never seen anything like it. So you kind of have that camaraderie where, you might be losing. It might be a narrow game. And there is so much confidence. I mean, obviously I don't know this from a player standpoint, but I'm a fan watching all the games. There is so much confidence when Judge comes to the plate at any point. You're like, okay, we could start a rally now. Okay, a home run, might bring us within 2, but maybe maybe next hitter, maybe someone else hits a double. And then, we got a runner in scoring position, down 2 with no outs. That changes everything. So I think the energy is flipped with Judge doing this. I think the positive attention, I think from all of this has kind of helped the Yankees, because a lot of the headlines over the last month and a half, 2 months have been largely negative. Obviously they're still sprinkled in there because things are not peachy. Bullpen is still fucking bad. The depth here, you're still questioning some things. We got a report back on DJ LeMahieu yesterday that he's not going to return at 100%. So what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know why that makes sense. So I'm still frustrated about a lot of things, but the New York media can be harsh. The fans can be particularly harsh. And anytime you could just take an edge off of that, that dark, cloud hanging over your head with so many other stories that are affected. We're still dealing with trade deadline ripple effects. I'm writing about today why I truly believe that the trade rumors fucked up Gleyber Torres' season, because now you see it's about 8 weeks, almost 8 weeks in the rear view, 7 weeks in the rear view, and he's picked it up over the last 2.5, 3 weeks because Ian Happ appeared on what is it, the Compound podcast, John Boy Media or something, and he talked about how trade rumors can weigh on you, especially when you're on a winning team in a winning environment, because it kind of shows that there's not much confidence in you. It gives you the feeling that your life's about to be uprooted. And it boils down to something as simple as you like going to the same coffee shop every day. And now you might have that ripped out from under you, or you've established relationships with, forget about players, with members of the staff. They talked about that with Jordan Montgomery when he was traded. He valued relationships with a number of people on the staff, and then had it yanked out from under him. So you don't know what this mental, a conversation for another time if you should be mentally strong enough to handle it. People have these conversations all the time about thinking athletes should be able to handle things more than the average person. There's some truth to that, I believe, but athletes are still humans, man. They're still affected by various happenings in a given day or week. And something as big as you maybe being traded to the shitty Marlins, yeah, that kind of sucks. And we've talked at length about how Gleyber Torres is key to making this lineup a true juggernaut, because he doesn't when he's on, he's not giving pitchers a free pass. And he's allowing other better hitters to see more pitches, which obviously results in runs. It's not rocket science. We know how this works, but the importance he has to this team and the timing of it happening now is great. I'm kind of thrilled for it if it can sustain, but can't help but think, we're still talking about negative stuff from the trade deadline. So there's a lot of stuff in Yankee land that's not exactly positive, and Judge single-handedly keeping the vibes afloat and allowing kind of everybody to maybe operate on a little bit more of a normal plane, as opposed to just the constant verbal abuse from the fans, from the media, from social media, from all of that. So I think that's how impactful his historic season has been. And if they end up doing something special this year, it'll be that should be a bigger talking point about all this, because this team was about to collapse. Still could happen, but they were on the brink of collapse less than 2 weeks ago. And now we are thrilled with a 6.5 game lead and think that that's enough cushion at the moment. So can't credit him enough for that. I think it's changed everything on so many levels.
Yeah, 7 in the loss column it feels good compared to where they were. The Rays were the biggest threat to pass the Yankees under 2 weeks ago when they were in the Bronx, cutting it down from 4 to 3 to 2. Now they're 9 back, and they just got swept at home by Houston. Their upcoming schedule has more Houston, more Guardians, got the Red Sox in there. The Rays and Jays are hooking up this weekend, so every day somebody loses. Like, the path to the finish line has definitely gotten clearer. I don't know how this Yankee season turns out, but I know entering this 4-gamer with the Red Sox, up 7 in the loss column on the Jays feels better than 4 or 5. Up 9 on the Rays feels pretty great. 14 games remaining, again, especially with the two teams playing each other. And up, the Red Sox can no longer win the AL East. And I know that, a lot of you are coming to me being like, I could have told you that in July. Sure. And I felt like the Red Sox probably were not going to overtake the Yankees either. But you know what? You want them officially eliminated if you got a 4-game series with them in September. You don't want them believing they can come get you. And now they literally can't come get you. They're 18 back with 14 to play. 14 is fewer than 18. They're not winning the AL East. They've been eliminated from that discussion. They're still lurking at the very edges of the AL wildcard race, the very edges. Not eliminated there yet. They're 9 back with 14 to play. I'm just telling you what's true. I'm just telling you what's true. But they have literally been eliminated from the AL East chase, which is huge. And it was not 2 weeks ago that we were saying, forget about the East. Like, that's already over. They're like 4 up with 3.5 weeks to go. Like, I don't know how you feel confident they hold that if they've already blown 10 and 11 and 12. from the early part of August to now. Like, I don't know how you feel confident. Forget about the East. Start looking at the playoffs. Start looking at the Orioles. Start looking at the third wild card. The Orioles were like 9 out at a point in time when the Yankees had they already blown like an 11-game lead. So what's 9? We got a month to go here. Now, the Yankees are a victory or an Orioles loss away from clinching a playoff spot. There are 14 games left in the season. That's huge. Michael, staring down the barrel of Michael Wacha tonight, it's a lot easier knowing that one win or one misstep from the team chasing you, in thick scare quotes, is going to wrap up the season. At least the first hurdle, the first goal. You're not going to see the Yankees celebrating a playoff spot the way the Mets did, where Pete Alonso was drinking champagne and belching and rubbing his stomach. That's not something you're going to see from the Yankees, except maybe Aaron Hicks. You might see Aaron Hicks do that, but you're not going to see the rest of the Yankees celebrating a playoff berth that way. But the fact that it could arrive so soon, after it really felt like, all right, they've already lost grip on the division, that was like set in stone. People are still telling me the playoffs are set in stone, but why would I believe them? Because I know the division was locked up a month ago, and now it's certainly not. So the playoffs were locked up at the beginning of September, but now they basically are. And now it's on to the bigger and more important priorities, and that's thanks in large part to Aaron Judge. You've watched the bullpen struggle. I would say inconsistent rather than across the board struggles. But there's not a name that you feel confident in as the closer. Scott Effross shows up today. He might be the closer tonight if they have a save opportunity. Like, Jonathan Loáisiga has been better, not great. Clay Holmes was back and fixed after he got off the IL. Now he's quite terrible again. 3-run home run to the guy who keeps a cell phone in his pocket, Rodolfo Castro, the other day. Got out of the inning unscathed. He allowed somebody else's base runners, but another bad one. Chalk it up. Lou Trevino. It's been pretty damn reliable since coming to the Yankees. Terrible the other day. Ron Marinaccio has given up 8 hits in his past 6 1/3 innings and 4 earned runs before yesterday when he was really good. But now he's the kind of guy who's used in the 8th inning of a 6-2 game against the Pirates. Maybe not a 1-run game against the Rays. Have you noticed that? He came in the middle of a 10-1 game against the Rays a couple weekends ago. Like, that usage is starting to change. Maybe a little too much mileage on that arm. I don't know. All I'm saying is inconsistent bullpen. Rotation has largely been great. We can talk about Luis Severino a little bit too, because that's probably the most important thing we saw non-Yankees Classic division in this 2-game series. He was great in 5 innings yesterday. Nestor Cortez didn't have a put-away pitch. It's pretty good in the first game too. But it's mostly been Aaron Judge keeping the lineup afloat. The number of people they've lost: Rizzo, Benintendi, Matt Carpenter, Giancarlo Stanton, and then he came back and he still kind of wasn't back. They're the nadir of the lineup when it was against the Twins a couple weeks ago, and it was like Judge, Hicks, Marwin at first, Ronald Guzman, IKF at third, Peraza. Like, we were having fun, but those lineups were not playoff caliber, folks. No. Aaron Judge kept them afloat. The second half numbers are even better than you sold. First half, he hit 284, 364 OBP, 983 OPS, 618 slugging, 33 bombs, 70 RBI. I think a lot of people maybe formed their opinions in the Ohtani Judge chase at that point when it was like, yeah, good season. Ohtani can pitch, better season, etc. Second half, 55 games, 374 average, 508 OBP. 508 OBP. It's on base more than half the time. Judge is at bat. There's a more than 50% chance he's getting on base. 856 slugging, 1.364 OPS, 27 homers in those 55 games, 58 RBI, and he's stolen 8 bases in both halves of the season. I don't remember them, but he did it. His OPS plus in the second half, small sample size, by the way, 278. So 178% better than your average hitter.
Yeah.
And he's got tonight. He needs to hit 2 home runs tonight to pass Maris. He needs to hit 1 to tie him. And if he can't pass him tonight, the game is on Apple TV.
Yeah.
On Friday. Major League Baseball is proposing the Yankees are proposing a trade where they give Apple TV their announcing trio and production support. They give them Kay and O'Neill in exchange for the game being flipped to yes. I mean, I don't know why Apple would say
who's on yes.
I think they're basically saying our announcers will handle it if you put it on yes. I think that's the trade. Like,
did they?
Congrats.
Do you think Apple TV thinks their announcers are not good?
or the idea that Apple TV, that Yes would be like, we would love the game. And Apple TV is like, great, we can give you Hunter Pence. And he'd be so happy. He'd be so happy to do it. Then Yes is like, no, this is supposed to be, this is Michael K. Okay, you want us to come out and say it? Michael K. just wants to do the game, right?
Yeah.
Who cares if it's on Yes or not? Michael K. is just throwing a fit that he's not going to be doing this game. So the latest update is that Apple TV is not budging. The game's going to be there. And I get that. Why would Major League Baseball want to strike a deal with Apple and then when they get an exciting game be like, no, sorry, you guys are not good enough to handle this. It's got to go somewhere else. It looks like it's going to stay on Apple, and it looks like Kay might call it on Apple, which is the weirdest case scenario. And if I'm Katie Nolan or Melanie Newman or Hunter Pence or whoever's supposed to do the game, I'm not happy about that. I feel like I got wedged out of the game by Michael Kay, but also that is the biz.
Yeah, come on. It's Michael Kay, who's been the Yankees broadcaster for how long and has been calling Aaron Judge games for the past 6 years. Like,
imagine if we were doing this podcast and Aaron Judge is approaching 61 homers and they're like, we got an intern from George Washington who's, never watched baseball before, but really likes the seams, like the red and white. They just think a baseball looks great. So they're going to be handling the Judge podcasts. You guys are free to do your own private podcast on a subscription network. We all do our podcast on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, no offense to Amazon Prime if that was the case too, but this wasn't a thing until this year. Yeah. If this was a 5-year long thing, it's like, okay, this is kind of the way it's been. So deal with it, man. Sorry, it kind of fell this way. This though, you want to talk about the stakes here. Judge, if he were to break the record / win the Triple Crown, or forget it, if he were to just win the Triple Crown, it would be the most home runs of a Triple Crown winner of all time. And he's only 1 point OPS plus wise behind Ted Williams' 1942 Triple Crown season. Ted Williams, 216 OPS plus. Judge right now, 215 OPS plus. If Judge can continue on his current trajectory, he's obviously going to pass the home run record, and he's obviously going to surpass that OPS plus mark, be the greatest Triple Crown season of all time, and you're going to give it to a novice, broadcast crew on Apple TV to call maybe the record-breaking or record-tying home run. You got to just say, yeah, no, great. I'm happy to be an announcer, but this isn't really my spot right now.
And I like the Apple TV broadcast a lot. I
don't listen to it. I never heard it.
They're pretty fun. And it's just sort of weird that this weekend they're going to get Yankees Sox, and they're going to get which is not really a massive matchup other than the Judge factor. And then they're also getting the Cardinals, so they could get Pujols 700 on Friday night in the late slot. That's one hell of a doubleheader. That's obviously it happened accidentally, but that's obviously exactly what Apple envisioned when they signed on for this package. And now all of a sudden you have the Yankees and MLB reneging on the deal a little bit. I think the Apple TV broadcasts are very fun, but in this instance, it's definitely just a little bit uncomfortable. And now it's coming out that Michael K told the Post he learned of the trade from the Post. Michael K's comment: the first I learned of this is from the Post's website. At first blush, I would feel very uncomfortable taking the assignment away from someone else. What about at second blush? I wonder if we get to another blush, because I feel like he probably does want that. Maybe let him in.
Second blush, I really don't give a fuck.
Hang on, solution no one's gonna like. Yeah. Just the idea that maybe he forces Susan Waldman out of the radio booth and ruins somebody else's day. I will be doing the game. I will be doing the game with John Sterling. Surely this won't affect anybody. Yeah, I mean, if it, here's hoping for 61 tonight and 62 on Saturday. And obviously the pitching matchups are now out. The Red Sox are in town. And here's what we know. Thursday's game going to be really tough for Aaron Judge to hit a bomb. Michael Wacha is having a season that has distinguished itself over the last month or two after he came back from injury. And Judge is 0 for 14 with 9 strikeouts career against Michael Wacha. He's starting Thursday night. Friday's Garrett Cole against Rich Hill. Saturday's Domingo Germán against Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta, Judge has 2 homers off of in his small sample size career. And Brian Bayo against Nestor Cortez on Sunday. I would say Red Sox team that's sort of been weird and uneven all year. Those are 4 fun matchups. They're pretty even keeled. I think you're going to see a good baseball game if you tune in to any of these four, regardless of the import. But I would say that I think there might be a lot of balls in Apple TV's court on Friday night, because I think the Waka game he's a change-up master. You got to hope he hangs one, but he's not going to throw our man Craig Goldstein's middle slop. He's not going to throw our favorite middle slop to Judge. He's going to be low in the zone. We're going to get some umpire called strikes at the shins. We're going to get the Judge greatest hits, and we'll see what happens. But this could very well carry on to the weekend. In terms of what we need to see, you're right. The DJ LeMahieu thing, he's not coming back this weekend as far as I know. There's been some discussion, but it's unlikely. Oswaldo Cabrera is my guy who needs to continue his hot hitting. And obviously, Gleyber Torres is hitting harder than he has. Basically, honestly, he went from one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball, you're right, in August, to someone who's got a 174 WRC plus in September, I believe. 2 home runs in an inning yesterday. Owned the Red Sox series at Fenway Park with his oppo hits. He hit the big bases clearing double and extras. He hit the huge Brian Bayo hit, another line drive single to right that turned into 3 runs and a Little League home run. He has continued that momentum into the Brewers and Pirates action, and he is going to be someone you got to watch in this series, because if he's all of a sudden, like if Giancarlo Stanton's not going to be back, then he's going to, if he's the Yankees' second best player offensively in a postseason series, that's actually not terrible. It's not somebody where you look at it and go, ugh, if he's their second best player, like that lineup's got to be in real trouble. Not really. He's a multi-time all-star young bat, and we know what he does in the playoffs when he's ready and willing. So carry it for 2 more weeks and show me. If the Yankees could get that bye, it'd be very helpful. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, grand slam. He hit the second grand slam in as many innings yesterday. He he just missed the pole with a rocket. The other day, but he's hitting for power now. All of a sudden, I think he's at like a 163 or 164 OPS plus in the month of September too. 40% of his hits are for extra bases, 25 hits, 6 doubles, a triple, and 3 bombs. He's got a 118 WRC plus and 0.8 F4 in the last 30 days. He inexplicably played left field the other day and looked great. Leapt at the wall and turned a potential grand slam and definitely like a 3-run double into a sac fly. He's good wherever you put him. And without Benintendi, who we've heard really no update on, and Matt Carpenter wants to come back for the playoffs, and in fact, he's vowing to. So I think we'll see Matt Carpenter, but is he going to start? Probably not. Is he going to play the outfield? Definitely not. Can Giancarlo Stanton play the outfield? At this point, I say no chance. I think Oswaldo Cabrera is your game 1 playoff left fielder, a position he doesn't play, and it's easy to, at this point, go, he's a right fielder. Left field's not that tough for a transition. He's not a right fielder either. He's played like 27 professional games in right field, 6 in the minors over the course of his entire career, and 21 in the big leagues this season. What this guy's doing is crazy, and he and Torres are the guys who needed to get hot and needed to help propel this team to something further than where they were when they entered that Brewers series. They're now like when they were in that Twins series looking dreadful. Now the lineup looks like something that could be a problem in October too. And I want to see what those guys do. Given a 4-game set against a Red Sox team that has a rotation, doesn't really have a bullpen still.
Yeah, you have to. I think another reason why they're trying to get this game is not only because he's so close to the record, but the Red Sox pitching fucking sucks. So there's a very high likelihood, even though, you know what, honestly, I want to see him hit one off Rich Hill or Nick Pivetta, because both of those guys would cry on the mound because they're giant babies.
Oh, yeah. And there's something to be said for wanting to give up one of these. Tracy Stallard, I was on his Wikipedia today because, last time a Red Sox was in the 61 chase, and he said he felt no shame, saying, quote, "I'm glad he did it off me. Otherwise, I would never have been thought of again. That was about all I did, and I've had a good time with it." Sad, a depressing quote for sure. But you think of the guy Eric Stout yesterday who walked Judge on 4 pitches, who ended up saying something in the postgame about like, I thought, my changeup was a good match for Judge, so I went with it on 3-0. That's not what you thought at all. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be the guy. There's no better circumstance for giving it up than the 8th inning of a game your team's already losing 11-2. Right now, you're known as the guy who got the shit kicked out of him yesterday by everybody else. You could have been the guy who gave up Aaron Judge's 61st homer. Nick Pivetta and Rich Hill would not take it well. I think if Brian
No.
Bayo did it, he would be like, what an honor. Baseball's
Yeah.
cool. Because he seems to be like, there are all these clips of him in the dugout, like learning pitch grips from the other Red Sox. He always just looks wide-eyed and like a happy guy, and that's cool. But like Nick Pivetta and Rich Hill would be like, I think Hill would leave. I think Hill might retire.
Pivetta
would sit on the mound.
Cry. He would cry on the mound.
Yeah, Pivetta would sit down on the mound and do that head in his hands, mound slapping.
Yeah. The classic. The Red Sox bullpen too. This thing is decimated, guys. Garrett Whitlock out for the season after needing surgery. Tanner Houck is out for the season after needing surgery. Cutter Crawford's on the injured list. And but I mean, he was okay for them. Like that was an okay pitcher for them. And now they're stuck with Matt Barnes, Ryan Brazier, some guys I've never even heard of. Some people Red Sox fans never even heard of because they've likely checked out on the losing season already.
Former Yankees prospect Franklin Herman got called up by the Sox.
I think is it Herman? I think it's German because is it
you're
Herman?
Right. No, I think you're right.
I think it's just Frank German.
I mean, his MLB debut this week was he did not record an out. So
Oh, really?
Oh, against the Royals. Yeah, he went 0.0 innings and had like a 40-50 ERA. I think he gave up a home run to Donovan Solano yesterday too. So not an instant savior for the 2022 Red Sox. I mean, more than anything else, I don't know. Look, if Judge does it on the road, fine. If Judge does it in one of those last series against the Orioles at home, okay. I would really like Alex Cora to see this. I just want him to see it. I want him to look at it. I want him to do a post-game press conference where he's like, Judge saw some pretty good pitches to hit there. I don't know if Carlos Beltran got in his ear from the booth, but maybe we're going to have to look into that. Like, that guy's got tricks up his sleeve. Like, I just want to see him spiraling. I want to see him lose his mind. When the Sox lost to the Rays a couple weeks ago, he gave some press conference that was just like, the Rays are better. The Rays were better. They hit better. They pitched better. They ran better. Like, I want to either hear defeatist stuff from that, or I want to hear conspiracy theory stuff from Alex Cora. I don't want him to be noble. I want him to be a heel about all this. And I definitely want him to take a good look. So the best case scenario is something like Sox up 4-3 in the 8th, and Cora makes a controversial pitching change who loads the bases and Judge grand slams off him. That's really like living the dream. Like, if you ask me, would I rather see Alex Cora be directly responsible for Judge's 60-second home run, or would I rather take a week in an all expenses paid resort in Jamaica? I would rather see Alex Cora's face. For sure.
That would be gratifying.
It's not close, actually, sadly. 2 weeks in Jamaica, maybe I make a change. But 1 week vacation versus an Alex Cora reaction shot, I'm going with Cora every time.
And hey, this series, outside of just the history aspect of it, is important. You want to rub it in the Red Sox face. You want them to you want this season to feel even worse for them, especially because last year, and this is not sour grapes on my part, last year was a fluke. I know it's just not, dude. It's a fluke. Kike Hernandez doing that it's never going to happen again. I understand the rotation for them has largely been injured this year, and now the bullpen has run into the same issues, but that was just not real life last year, and that's what classic underachieving Red Sox teams do when they think the world is against them, when the world really isn't against them. If you were to poll regular baseball fans on who they hated more versus the Yankees or the Red Sox, the Yankees would overwhelmingly win, but somehow it's always Boston versus the world. No one likes Boston. We have to fight. Maybe it was like Boston against the world when everybody hated Tom Brady, but like no one fucking thinks about the Patriots anymore. Do you? Have you? No, you haven't, because they haven't been good, and it hasn't really mattered. So it was just like, you got the winning guy out of there, and now no one really, there's no Boston versus everybody. It's just Boston being there. Sorry. But the pitching matchups here, I actually like Tyone versus Waka, Cole versus Hill, Domingo Germán versus Nick Pivetta, Nestor Cortez versus Brian Bayo. I think in a perfect world, the Yankees win 3 out of 4. I think the more likely scenario is a split, just because bullshit happens whenever we play the Red Sox. But it's important to get ahead because you got the 3-game series next week at Toronto. And and you got an O's team still fighting the series after that. So
the Mariners let them right back into this thing, by the way. Like it's not likely that they take the final playoff spot from Seattle, especially with that schedule I read out from the M's, who could just go on a run here.
Shit happens.
The Rays are in, not trouble, but
they got to win. They got to win
games. They have the exact opposite schedule problem as the Seattle Mariners here. I'll just do the Rays schedule so people are thinking about it. They've got the Jays and they've got them at home for 4 this weekend. So this series could be everything for the Tampa Bay Rays. But then they have a day off, 3 at Cleveland. Cleveland's on fire. Then they go to Houston for 3, and they go to the Red Sox for 3. And you've heard us say, who wants to go to Fenway Park in September and October?
No.
Certainly not me. We did it last week, got out of there with 2 wins. It was great. But you think the Rays are dancing around that 3 at Fenway is their easiest series for the rest of the year? That's not easy. That's and it's the last series of the season. The odds are the Red Sox will probably not still be in position to make a playoff run with 3 games left. Odds are, I don't know, but the odds are against them. But you think they want to knock the Rays out of the playoffs, even if it means the Orioles get in? Yes. They hate the Rays. Absolutely. So that's no fun. The Orioles are still going to be playing for something when the Yankees do face them. Yes.
Yeah. So you have that factor. And honestly, you look ahead to next week, you got Severino, Gossman. Good game. Severino's, I like what I saw. I'm excited for him for the postseason, by the way. Unreasonably excited, but we'll get to that in maybe next week. I don't think we can talk about that now. Tyone versus Jose Barrios could go either fucking way. And then you have Cole versus Manoah. Could go either way. I think
this is what you came for, though. That's the good stuff.
All of those games could go either way. If you're sitting here telling me you would be shocked if the Yankees got swept in that series, then you have not been watching enough Yankees baseball. This team could easily get swept in this series. Those are pitching matchups that lean in either direction, and all it's going to take is, Cole giving up a patented first inning 3-run fucking homer to put the Yankees in a hole. All it's going to take is Tyone to give up the long ball early. It's all it takes. And Yankees have had a lot of history against Kevin Gossman, and he's been capable against them. So you got to look into this. That's almost the best arms that the Blue Jays could throw at us for that 3-game set. So I think it kind of leans more into it. Plus they're home and their bats are on fire right now. I know they had an 18-run game the other night, but 42 runs in their last 7 games. That's 6 runs a game. I know it's inflated with that total, but they still did it. They still scored 18 runs. They're capable of doing that. They're a dangerous offense. So you probably want to head into Toronto. It'd be fucking nice with a 7.5, 8-game lead. Because then, God forbid, you get swept. It's 5, 4.5, and then you can just live to see another day with your final 7 games being against the Orioles and the Rangers. So that's why this Sox series is important for them to take 3. I'm not going to demand anything from them, even though they've been playing well, but you probably just want to handle the business. It's the last games you have against the Red Sox. You're lucky enough for it to be at home. And you got bigger fish to fry. Get ready for the postseason, get healthy. And then your last true meaningful series of the season starts on Monday. So take advantage here. I know it's hard because it's the Red Sox, but that's why there's another layer of importance for this one.
Exactly. And I'm not excited to go to Toronto, but I'm a little more excited now that there's some cushion. The Yankees are going to be entering that series with a lead on the Blue Jays. It's a lot like these last couple Rays series. Honestly, it's like take one. One. This is a tough series at a tough time of year. Tough place to play.
Calendar, baby.
Yeah, tough place to play. Team that really wants to beat you. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you got to take 2 out of 3. And why don't you go sweep? Like, it's not going to be easy. So try to win the series. Take 1. And you're so close to the finish line. You can get your ducks in a row for the actual postseason. But those matchups sound fun. Before we leave, I guess we end every podcast now with just a wag of the finger at Aaron Hicks. This time around, it's not really in Hicks's it's not at Hicks. It's just in Hicks's direction. What the hell's going on? Is he about to get Jacoby Ellsbury'd? He genuinely might be. I've heard of Phantom IL stints before. Obviously, I'm no stranger. Clay Holmes hit the IL this year with succitis in his lumbar. He was out for like 2 weeks with a back issue. He was laughing about it when they asked him, and then he came back and he looked better, and then he looked worse again. He lost his release point. The Yankees do this all the time. The Dodgers do this all the time. They put people on the IL who are struggling or who need a break. They just put Luis Severino on the 60-day IL to cap his innings, and he was basically like, I could pitch at the beginning of September, and they were like, shh, get back in the box. So we know what the Yankees do. We know what good teams do. Aaron Hicks was supposedly a little under the weather on Wednesday and was not going to play that day. And then Boone said something like he could be an option later in the game, but he's feeling under the weather. And then he left the stadium in street clothes. So I guess he wasn't an option later in the game. As it turned out, you actually could not use him because he was gone at home watching on television, probably watching something else. Are we going to see Aaron Hicks for the rest of the year in a home game? Just like final determination. Are we going to see Aaron Hicks on the playoff roster?
I mean, I can't definitively answer that. If I was running the team, he would absolutely not be on the playoff roster. You have Oswaldo Cabrera, who is, I think, a lock for the postseason roster. You have Harrison Bader, who will also be on the postseason roster, or else the Jordan Montgomery trade will result in riots. And you obviously have Judge. So those are three guys who could play the outfield every single day. And I don't know what the usage in the outfield with Giancarlo Stanton is going to be. But if you're talking about putting forth your best lineup in must-win games against teams like the Blue Jays, the Rays, or the Astros, Stanton might have to play one game in the outfield or two. Like, that's not crazy to me. You put the big boys in the outfield. You maybe maybe you put DJ off his feet because he's probably not going to be able to play that great a defense if his foot's still hurting him. Maybe he DHs. It's just something to consider. And are they carrying Marwin Gonzalez? Have they kept him this long to keep him on the roster? Feels like probably.
I think so.
Yeah. So I don't know where Aaron Hicks fits in here. There's no role for him. He, like we said, he has not played in a home game since September 9th. He had that interview with the Post where he complained about his playing time, and kind of further added to the toxicity surrounding him in New York, where the narrative was mostly among the fans. And now he's kind of responding back. We talked about it at length, like not really accepting responsibility for how bad he's been, not really changing his approach whatsoever, because we've all been watching him this year and has not made any tweaks with his batting stance. His timing has been terribly off. His judgment at the plate has been totally, when it comes to actually making contact, has been totally off. Sure, he takes walks, but like, you could stand there and take pitches. I don't know if that's really indicative of how good Aaron Hicks's eye is. If his eye was that good, I think he'd also be getting hits and not batting, almost in the 190s. So I don't, and also this is the biggest thing for me, and it should be a bigger thing for a team like the Yankees, who still have yet to at all grasp the topic or the subject, but you can't carry players who have this kind of narrative surrounding them. It brings bad energy. And if you don't believe bad energy is a thing, then you should probably do some research on how underdogs ever make runs in the playoffs ever in history. It's because they have a good locker room, they have a good voice with a coach, and they have minimal distractions. And I think Aaron Hicks at this point has become a distraction, especially after that. Honestly, if that New York Post thing didn't happen, I would have said, you know what? Last guy on the bench, Aaron Hicks, pinch hit as a lefty, work the count against, maybe he comes in to hit with, runners on second and third, one out, and you want to either put the pressure on the pitcher to throw strikes. So maybe he runs into one, or maybe he just works a good at bat and either puts one in play to score a run or walks. Like, maybe that was a good idea. And hey, his defense isn't terrible. It's not good at this point over the last couple of years, but it's not terrible. Could have had some value there. But after you have this interview with the Post, of all publications to do the fucking interview with and to say that stuff to, you do it with the New York Post. You got to know better at this point. He's been in New York for a while, so it's not a Gallo situation where Gallo's kind of like shell shock changing environments from Texas to New York. And he's like, whoa, wow, I did not expect this. Aaron Hicks has kind of known what this has been. And like we said,
Yeah.
there's never been an exceeding amount of pressure on Aaron Hicks. Everyone kind of known who he was, and the frustration really boiled over. And most of the blame is on Brian Cashman for that extension. But then Hicks comes back as a fully healthy season, has the second most at-bats of his career, and then manages to whine about playing time at the end of it when he made an egregious effort, an effort-based error against the Rays on Derek Jeter Hall of Fame night. Like, that stuff sticks for people. I'm sorry that it did, but that's how it kind of works. And you can't have that toxicity, I don't think, in a playoff clubhouse. And the Yankees don't really understand that because, once again, they traded Jordan Montgomery. They had Gleyber Torres in trade rumors. They've upset the apple cart on many occasions in the past in recent years, and Brian Cashman's been a culprit of that. But if there's one thing they can do right by, is just probably not carrying Aroldis Chapman and Aaron Hicks into the postseason. I think that's the answer, but you don't know. He left the clubhouse reportedly, per Brian Hoke, in street clothes after he, was not feeling well. So take that detail with a grain of salt, but that doesn't sound good to me. I don't know about you.
And Aroldis Chapman, by the way, ended up being the winning pitcher in Tuesday's Yankees Classic. They tried to use him in a mop-up situation down 4 in the top of the ninth against a terrible team. He actually pitched well, and then, of course, the Yankees rallied in an historic fashion and walked off and won. So congrats to Aroldis Chapman. But, yeah, still didn't see enough to put him on the playoff roster. Didn't see enough to put Hicks there either. There was certainly a time a couple weeks ago, like you said, you're talking about last guy on the bench, LeCastro, Marwin, Hicks. I'm leaning Hicks, but now I don't think it's going to happen. That is it for this very eventful edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Seriously, literally wherever. Name another podcast platform. We're there. And we're going to be live streaming on all Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time. And we're happy to answer your questions. Drop us questions anytime. Thanks for watching. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib, Thomas Carannante. Where can the people find you as Aaron Judge's record chase heats up?
Oh, yeah. Come on, baby. Follow us. We're having a good time. At Tommy's_takes on Twitter. You can also talk to us on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. YanksGoYard.com. Not going to have to tell you again all the content in the world you need. 4-game set against the Sox. Got some interesting stuff up there pertaining to that, pertaining to Aaron Judge's Triple Crown chase, pertaining to Aaron Judge's home run race, pertaining to some postseason questions. It's all there for you to pop in, read, comment on. We want to hear from you. Until then, we'll talk to you on Monday. Enjoy this weekend. Yankees Sox doesn't really get better than that. We got some football too. This is the convergence that I love.
Sports.
It's great. It's good life.
It's a good life. Hey, we'll see you on Monday. We'll know a lot more then.